Welcome to the Chamber's Candidate Interview Series. I'm Christy Moore, and I serve as the president of the Dawson County Chamber of Commerce. On June 9th, the primary election will be held in Georgia, and early voting begins May 18th. In Dawson County, there are many local elections on the ballot. You may always view your sample ballot and polling location by visiting mvp.sos.ga.gov. One of the main areas of focus of our Chamber's strategic plan is advocacy. While we would typically host a forum for all candidates, due to the current pandemic and out of an abundance of caution that prioritizes the health and safety of the candidates and our staff, we are hosting in-depth candidate interviews instead. All candidates who are running for an office for which more than one candidate is running were invited to be interviewed. As a nonpartisan organization, we take seriously our role to promote issues of benefit to our businesses and community, as well as support the promotion of information about upcoming elections. The Chamber does not endorse a particular party nor particular candidates. We have worked diligently to ensure that these candidate interviews are fair to the participants and informative to our members and audience. Candidates were not given the questions prior to being interviewed. Questions were submitted by Chamber members and were predetermined by the Chamber's Advocacy Committee. Similar to a forum, each candidate will be given 3 minutes to give an opening statement and will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Today, I'm joined by Stephen Leibel, who is running to be the next state representative for District 9. Stephen, would you like to kick us off with your opening statement?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Dawson County Chamber of Commerce and you for inviting me to be here today. I think it's so important for us as candidates to reach out to the people who will be voting for us. And I look at this as being a job interview. I'm asking that I work for you. You'll be paying me. I'll be reporting to you. And my job is to be the best representative, the best employee you ever had. In doing that, you need to know a little bit more about me. I have been a lawyer for 40 years. I'm 63 years old. I'm a certified police officer. I graduated the police academy in 1986. I've maintained my certification since then. I'm a businessman. I'm very much tied to Dawson County, in that I started First Citizens Bank of Georgia along with former Chairman Mike Berg and Kevin Tanner, amongst others. I'm a business guy. I own a self-storage business as well as a law firm, and I employ people. So I want you to know that I'm a problem solver. I've represented so many people who've been in distress and need help. I represented the former mayor of Dawsonville when he got into problems and went all the way to the Georgia Supreme Court for him. I've done a lot of things that make me qualified to be the next representative, and I think I can do a really good job. And one of the things I think that this district deserves is full-time representation, in that I will have full-time staff available to meet the needs of the people of our district to interface with the state of Georgia. It's complicated, but we'll figure it out together.
Thank you. Well, to kick us off, share with us why you want to be a state representative.
I've lived in the 9th District for over 20 years, and I've practiced here for over 20 years. And I believe that this is probably the greatest place that anybody could ever live in the United States. And I'm proud to be a member of the community of the 9th District. I have ties to each and every part of the district. I live in Lumpkin County. My offices are at the Dawson-Forsyth line. We had businesses here, 6140 Events, which was tied to the Chamber and to the various local organizations, like even the Dawson Prom. And we gave back to the community doing that, and we became very good friends with so many people here. I have clients here. I have employees who are here. And I'm also tied to North Forsyth, in that I represent the sheriff of Forsyth County. I'm basically his general counsel, and I'm involved with a multi-million-dollar governmental organization. I've represented the Dawson County Sheriff's Office here, and I do work up in Lumpkin County, and I've fought governments, I've represented governments, and I've been in business where I'm involved with the government. So I have a lot of ties to this area, and I feel like everybody here has been great to me, and it's time for me to give back because people here have made me successful, and I feel like it's my turn to help.
Great. Well, kind of building on what you've shared with us, please share your experience specifically in public service and building consensus that qualifies you to run for this position.
Well, not only as a lawyer, but as a former judge, and I didn't talk about that as part of my qualifications. Building consensus is important with the other constituencies that you work with, whether it's the police, whether it's other judges. Uh, Consensus is working with a bank board and dealing with the FDIC, which was very troublesome because when we built this bank, we got into the worst economic recession ever, and yet we kept it, and we kept it alive, and nobody lost all of their money, although we did get hurt like everyone else, but we didn't go out of business like some other banks. Um, I believe that uh, I have the experience in government in two ways. One is I've represented government, as I said, and the other was I've fought government. So I know what it's like to fight people who are overreaching, who are arrogant, who don't care about people. Uh, and I really feel like I know both sides of the coin, and I think I can be of great effect for the people because I care about people and I really care about doing a great job. And I think that my experience makes me able to do that.
Absolutely. Well, share with us, you've talked a little bit about this, but how will you maintain accessibility for your constituents if elected?
Well, the most important thing that a public official can do is to make their staff available to the people so that if there's a problem, they know where to go. We don't have full-time constituent services that I know of anywhere in Georgia, but I can do it. And fortunately, the money that I'll be getting, I don't need. Um, I've been very successful, thankfully. And the money that I would be getting from the legislature, your money, I would put back and have full-time staff. I plan on utilizing interns from the university, whether it's Linear Tech or Brenau or University of North Georgia, to really give constituent services like they do in Washington, D.C. There's no reason why we can't do that. Also, why can't we have Zoom meetings with your representatives? Why can't we do things that are a little bit different? And the pandemic has taught me one thing. It's never going to be the same again. And we have to really take a look at the new technologies that are ahead of us so that we can do things like this Zoom without having to go anyplace except our offices or our homes. And so that is a very important part of the future of the 9th District as it is for the state of Georgia.
Thank you. Our community is blessed with a strong local sales tax base. The Education Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, ESPLOST as we call it locally, has generated funds that have allowed our school system to build beautiful buildings like the College and Career Academy, and it's put an iPad in the hands of every student kindergarten through 12th grade. Currently, state law only allows ESPLOST to be spent on bricks and mortar projects, textbooks, school buses, and technology, but not salaries. Would you support giving ESPLOST flexibility so schools can hire additional staff and faculty?
I'm not even sure it's necessary to do that at this point. I think what we've learned from this pandemic is that we're going to be doing things differently into the future. There's going to be new ways in which to communicate with our students and with people in the community. And I don't know if we're going to be needing as much brick and mortar as we've needed before. I think that the whole way that we think is going to be changed. I'm not going to say that we shouldn't use the funds that are available to us to give people raises or whatever, but right now I'm not so sure that that's going to happen because of the shortfall in tax revenue that's going to be happening and the cut in services that are going to become necessary. And I think that's a very scary thing for us. And one of the reasons that you'd hire me to go down to the Capitol, maybe even remotely, is for us to look at every sacred cow. What do we need to be spending money on? Why do we have to spend money on this or that? We really have to take a real deep dive as to what is the essential function of our government. I believe that government that governs least governs best. And I do believe that there were certain things, for example, why do we need radio stations? that are financed by the state of Georgia. Those are things that we have to look at. There may be other things as well. And I would ask my constituents also to assist me in the things that are concerning to them. But I think that as we overtax our businesses and our people, then we become a less desirable place to live, making it much more difficult for business as well as people. And I want to look at every sacred cow, and I want to see really what is necessary before we can come to any conclusion on whether or not we need to spend money or raise money or do anything until we have a really, what I call a forensic review of our state government.
Well, as we're speaking of sacred cows, as the state continues to grow, particularly north of Atlanta, transportation infrastructure has become increasingly important. If elected, how do you intend to advocate for increased funding from the Department of Transportation?
As we discussed just a minute ago, with the way things are going right now, why would anybody in their right mind want to travel from this beautiful part of the world to Atlanta? And we may not have to do that anymore because of, like, for example, what we're doing now, a Zoom meeting where I'm one place and you're the next. I think that that's going to be part of the transportation equation, which was never looked at before. Why do we have to drive an hour and a half, for example, for me to go to a mediation when I can do it remotely? Do we need as much transportation infrastructure as we used to? And these are the things that we have to look at as a result of this pandemic. Now, the pandemic did nobody any favors, and don't believe in any way that I am so happy it happened. I'm not. But I really think that we have to look at the world in a different way right now, utilizing our technology. So maybe we don't have to travel to Atlanta, and maybe we don't have to everybody leave their homes. Now, this is going to be a great disruptor in our society. And someone who understands that, I hope like myself, who is experienced in new technologies and in new ways of which to do things, and who has flexibility, is a person who can represent our interests in the State House. And that's what I'd like to do. But that also involves other transportation interfaces like internet. And I think that what's going on in this area is a travesty, and that we need robust, incredible internet, which we do not have.
Well, we will certainly be talking about that in a minute, but first I wanted to ask, for 2020, the Tax Foundation recently ranked Georgia 32nd in their State Business Tax Climate Index. This index is designed to rank how well states structure their tax systems and reflects the following variables: corporate tax, individual income tax, sales tax, unemployment insurance tax, and property tax. Recognizing that there are many different ranking systems, are there specific areas within the state government that you feel could be reduced or modified in order to ease unnecessary regulations, restrictions, and financial burdens upon Georgia's businesses?
You know, I think that as we look at the budget and do the forensic review, then we'll be in a better understanding of what we can and can't cut. I think that, again, what is the essential function of a government? Is it to spend money on pet projects? Or is it really an essential government that takes care of things like police protection, fire protection, adequately funding our local sheriffs, adequately funding our EMS, and taking care of our people? That's a fundamental responsibility of government. I'm not so sure that there are a lot more than that. And I think that what we need to do is to take a good look at what we're spending our money on. And when we do that, and we find, for example, that we're spending our money on projects that really are outside of what a government should spend money on, then we can cut the waste. I also think that there's another thing that goes on. I believe there's a real lack of whistleblower protection in the state of Georgia. I was involved in a whistleblower action up in Lumpkin County, where we found that there was a corrupt hospital, and ultimately the university took it over, and it's gone. That was Chestatee. But I found in my review of the laws that there really are no state whistleblower type of protections that are afforded or rewards afforded to people who find insurance fraud, which affects all of us. Even Florida has a small statute on that. I think we need to do that and to find the government waste, but we need to do it through incentives. I think that's important. That's something that I would want to advocate for when I'm your representative. But I have experience and understanding about that. And I think that we need to look beyond just the words, but we need to look at the actual facts and figures about what is going on in government and what needs to stop.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned a little bit about this before, but as we've experienced in the last few months, access to broadband is vitally important. Telemedicine, long distance learning, and economic development all require access to high-speed internet. If elected, what are your ideas for improving access to broadband in both your district and throughout the state?
Well, it's very important that we involve the broadband carriers, whether they be cable or whether they be cellular. Right now, we really don't have a cohesive review of what makes sense. 5G down in Atlanta, does it work up here in the mountains? Do we need to have hard lines, whereas in other countries, they have no hard lines at all? Are we doing it through electrical means? Probably doesn't work as well. But the cheapest probably and the easiest type of infrastructure is probably cellular. And we haven't really paired with the cellular companies in providing this type of broadband to our area. And I think we need to look at that. We need to look at satellite. And we need to see if we can get a satellite system that may work. You know, the US government uses satellites. Why aren't we looking at that as well? So I think that the people of our district and the people of Georgia have a fundamental right to broadband. And you know why? Because our Georgia Constitution says so. And as a constitutionalist, I look not only at the Georgia Constitution, not only the federal Constitution, but the Georgia Constitution for our rights. And one of the rights that our children have is the right to an adequate education. How can they have that without broadband? How can you provide that to the children without a excellent, I get very excited about this because really and truly, this is so important. I myself as a business person I was in Dahlonega and I outgrew my space and I came down to North Forsyth / Dawson and I went to look for the internet and there wasn't any. And until Comcast came in and provided the internet for my business, I couldn't do business here. I had to do it where there was internet, and only because NGN had it, because the internet was run up from Atlanta with a federal grant to Dahlonega, was I able to then have robust internet. Well, we have to look beyond the federal government. We have to look and see what we can do to incentivize businesses as well as cellular companies to work with us on this project.
Thank you. And I definitely understand feeling passionate about that issue. It is one of the #1 issues that impacts our businesses, and we could all argue our children as well in Dawson County. Dawson County is home to the longest operating corn maze in the state, Uncle Shucks, one of the top fall agritourism destinations, Bird's Pumpkin Farm, the tallest cascading waterfall east of the Mississippi, Amicalola Falls, and of course, the North Georgia Premium Outlets. Georgia's 9th House District is home to many other agritourism and tourism destinations. How do you propose to promote and foster the sustainability and growth of tourism throughout the state of Georgia, given that it has such a great impact within Dawson, Lumpkin, and Forsyth counties?
Well, I think first of all, let's look at home. And we do have a wonderful tourism region in the 9th District, from the wineries up in the north part to Uncle Shucks, the outlet malls, and all the way south to the beautiful parks in North Forsyth. We have a great place to live. And we need to promote it, of course, and we should do that. But we should also look the state should look at how we can make it better. And one of the things I'd like to do, and I've talked about this, is I believe that we need a Trail of Tears museum in Dahlonega, which would then affect the tourism all through our ninth district and generally through the state. It would spur people to come on up to want to stay at hotels, which, by the way, we don't have enough of in Dawson County. It would spur bed and breakfast, which we don't have enough of anywhere. And it would be a great generator of business. And the way we would do that is there would be a commission formed by the state of Georgia that would work with the Cherokee Nation, the Smithsonian Institution, and private donors to build a world-class museum in this area, which would then tie in with the south part of our area, which is in North Forsyth, which is where we have the old federal highway, which is where the Trail of Tears took place. Everything is interrelated. You know, as a region, as a state, we need to go further than just say, oh, we have a great this and that. We need to work on getting the great tourism destinations available for us. And we need to do it. Like, for example, in Dahlonega right now, they have the Gold Museum, which impacts Uncle Shucks because people come on up, they go there, they come down, and everybody benefits. We need to be able to continue to do those sort of things by building and working on having great opportunities for tourism. And by the way, when you build something like that, you have great opportunities for jobs, including construction, including maintenance, including research, including community involvement. It's the greatest type of project that we can do for our region. It would affect everyone from North Forsyth all the way up to Lumpkin and everywhere in the state of Georgia. And we need to do it, and it won't cost us anything to look at it.
Absolutely. Well, if elected, what do you envision your role in advocating for the businesses in your district? And is there one particular business issue that you plan to personally champion?
I think that the biggest business interest I see is the lack of internet. And I would champion that. Because without having access to the information superhighway, then how are we to compete? And we can't. So we have to do it through the information highway. So I would advocate for that. But I also want to advocate for lower government spending, whatever that means when we go through the sacred cows. I want us to do a forensic, as I said, a forensic examination of government. And we have to get to our basic core philosophy that we are not here to provide a playground for political interests and politicians. We're here to really provide a strong government that helps the people and the businesses of the state be competitive and to be able to provide for employees and their families. You know, people say, well, what have you done to help anybody? Well, one of the things I've done, aside from my charitable work, working with Legacy Link and Meals on Wheels for seniors and things like that, which is all nonprofit fundraising activity, is I've provided jobs for people. And jobs provide opportunity for people and the ability to take care of people and be independent. And there's nothing greater in the world than people being independent and taking care of themselves and having great families that they can band together and help one another.
Absolutely. And following up with that, you know, by the federal definition of small business, which is 500 or fewer employees, all Dawson County businesses are small. And I would argue probably 99% of the district's businesses are small businesses. So please share with us why a small business owner should vote for you.
Well, I'm a small business owner who understands the problems of small business, but I'm also a lawyer as well. And being a lawyer, I understand the legal issues that affect business. It's not so simple to say, I'm going to do this. You have to do it in a way in which it's constitutional, as in which it's legal, and which it makes sense. I can have every idea in the world, but every idea doesn't mean anything unless it's approached in an intelligent and rational way. And I think I can provide that type of leadership to to government. I've been on both sides. I understand the problems. I've interpreted laws and the Constitution. I know how to write a law. And I think that if we're going to do that and we're going to take care of our people, our businesses, our families, we need to write laws that are not going to be struck down by courts. We're going to need to have laws that make sense, where we have insurance coverage for them, for example, so that we can do business in the state. We want to make sure that when we do business correctly, intelligently, and ethically, that we are a state that you would be proud to locate your business in and know that you will be successful.
Great. Well, as we come to a close, please share with us anything you think we might have missed, or as you approach your closing statement.
I said this before, and I mean this sincerely. I work for you, and this is a job interview. And I'm asking for your vote, which means I'm asking for your hiring decision. I believe that I can be the best employee you ever had. I will be accessible. I will provide services. I will act ethically. I will act with integrity. I will make sure that the interests of our district are protected. I consider myself to be a fearless conservative. I believe in government that governs best, governs least. I believe in our Constitution, our Second Amendment, and all the amendments to the Constitution, because all of them have great worth in our society. I believe in the Georgia Constitution, and as a judge, I try to abide and did abide by the Constitution of both the state and the federal constitutions. And I'm a man who believes in the law and the rule of law, which means that we treat people with respect and that we treat people like we would like to be treated ourselves. As your representative, you will find no one who cares more than me. I'm 63 years old right now. I have a very successful career. I've been a small businessman, a banker, I'm a police officer, I've been a judge, and I want to be your representative. And I know that I can do a good job, and I want your vote, and I want to earn it. And I will be accessible to you, and my people will be accessible to you, and we will be the envy of the state of Georgia. And I give you my word on that.
Well, thank you, Stephen, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking this time, and we enjoyed the conversation.
I want to thank you. And sometimes, I get very passionate about this, but I'm also an accessible person, and I would welcome anybody to call me and want to meet with me. I'm happy to talk with them. I think it's important for people to know that just because you're passionate doesn't mean that you're not accessible and that you don't care. I do care about this a lot, and I want to do a great job. And I look forward to somebody calling me, and they can reach me at 404-585-1273. I have a website because nobody can spell my last name or pronounce it. It's Leibel. So my website is votestevenow.com. And I really look forward to any interaction. It's been a very difficult time interacting with people because of this pandemic. And I hope everybody stays safe and is healthy and continues to love their families.
Thank you, Steve.